Good morning, Heritage Church. Good morning. There's a lot of energy in the room. Hopefully there's a lot of energy on Zoom. Everybody wave at the Zoomers. Welcome, Zoomers. Whether you're here in the room or watching or listening on Zoom, welcome to Heritage Universalist Unitarian Church and our worship service today, this second Sunday of August. Can you believe it? I mean, it feels that way from the heat, but it's already the middle of August. Summer is winding down. I'm Bill Gupton. I'm the senior minister here at Heritage, and it is my privilege to welcome you guys to a very special day here at HUC as our Director of Lifespan Faith Development, Lacey Adams, walks slowly toward the front. We're here, among other things, after church today to celebrate Lacey and the new arrival in her family, the impending new arrival in her family. So after church today, everyone is invited to the Great Hall out the door and to the right for lunch and a party. It's not a shower, right? It's a sprinkle because it's not the first baby. So, the first baby is apparently a shower. After that, it's a sprinkle. So we're going to have a sprinkle out there during and after our lunch. So how could you turn that down, right? If you're here in the sanctuary or even on Zoom, you received this by email, you should have an order of service, and on one side and on the back are announcements of things going on. Activities are really picking up here at Heritage as we approach the fall. There's a lot going on. I want to make sure that folks are remembering that 2 weeks from today is our annual water ceremony, and if you haven't already collected some water, you've got 14 more days to do so and bring it with you to church on August 24th for our water ceremony. I also want to point out that there's a September fundraising dinner happening at the Cialino home on September 10th. That's sort of 2/3 the way down that announcement sheet. Please see Antonio or Jen and sign up. That's just a couple of the many things going on here at Heritage. I know there's a lot going on in your life, including communications that want to reach you during the next hour. So let's block those by silencing your devices at this time, if you would. If you are visiting us for the first time, we ask that you sign our guest book out in the lobby and be sure to help yourself to any literature or other information about Unitarian Universalism and Heritage Church. We have a greeter, our board vice president, Michelle Kelly. Michelle's at the back, waving like Barbie. So, Michelle, it's 2 weeks in a row we got Barbie in. How's that? Now, okay, let's take today's poll. How many of you have seen Barbie? Oh, look, Lacey. Like last week, it was like 4. So things are improving. All right. So now I segue from Barbie to our call to worship. That's right. Someone said that Barbie's a call to action, and amen to that. Here's our call to worship from Ralph Helverson. Deep in ourselves resides the religious impulse. Out of the passions of our clay it rises. We have religion when we stop deluding ourselves that we are self-sufficient, self-sustaining, or self-derived. We have religion when we hold some hope beyond the present, some self-respect beyond our failures. We have religion when our hearts are capable of leaping up at beauty, when our nerves are edged by some dream in the heart. We have religion when we have an abiding gratitude for all that we have received. We have religion when we look upon people with all their failings and still find in them good, when we look beyond people to the grandeur of nature and to the purpose that lies in our own heart. And we have religion at last when we have done all that we can and then in confidence at last entrust ourselves to the life that is larger than we are. Come, let us worship together. You're gonna go for it. There we are. Thank you, Atlas. This time I invite you to rise in body or spirit, wherever you may be, singing our doxology and saying together our covenant. While you are being seated and Lacey's coming up here, I just want to say how amazing you sounded when you were singing. And take a look. It's the middle of August. This sanctuary is almost full. You guys are great.
Good morning, everyone. All right, so I am going to invite the adults in our midst into a bit of mystery. Our time for all ages might not make a whole lot of sense to you just at first. I believe it will become apparent how it all connects as you make it through the rest of the service. And for our young people who will be leaving, we are leaving today to go out and do some work together on and in our grounds, and as we explore together. It is important that you listen well, because we are going to pick up from this story into our time together. So, I recently traveled to Atlanta, where the Atlanta Botanical Gardens has a display of trolls. Very large, massive, giant-size wooden trolls. Okay? The trolls are actually the artistic work of Thomas Dambo, and the trolls are called Trolls Save the Humans. So, they are beautiful to see, and for all of our young people, you will have an opportunity to look through this book and see some of those trolls. For the adults in our midst, I encourage you to imagine massive wooden found object trolls in your head as you hear this part of the story. So the trolls have a history. They have a story to tell us. They have something important for us to think about as we think about this idea of facing the abyss. So, every 211 years, anyone 211 years in the building? All right. Well, we might feel that old sometimes, right? All of the trolls around the world, from all over the world, meet together in a big gathering in a secret place. Some call this gathering the Great Trolley Hokey Fest, but it's really not that festive. 211 years might sound like a lot for us little humans, but to a giant troll, it feels like a single summer. Does anyone go to annual summer gatherings every year? Yes, okay. At this gathering, the trolls sit around the fire and they talk about humans. And the trolls know that humans are good beings at heart and mean no real harm. But time and time again throughout history, the humans have emptied rivers or cut down forests or hollowed out mountains. Choices that have put the humans themselves in danger, but also put the trolls in danger, the animals and plants and all that lives and breathes around the world that we share. It's exactly 211 years since the last troll gathering, but something is certainly different at this one. And as they sit around the fire talking, everyone listening can hear the giants believe that humans should be stopped, and believe that the humans have stopped listening to nature, have stopped understanding, have stopped caring altogether. And the trolls are furious. And they are furiously yelling at each other, and to be frank, this is not a place anyone wants to be. So the old troll, Bo, who has walked all the way across the snowy mountains, rises from his stone and shouts, "Let's eat all the humans. This will solve the problem once and for all." Isaac Hartstone yells, "Agreed, indeed," from across the fire, and all the trolls start to get loud and they're roaring, "Yah!" to say that this is indeed the right course of action. And while some older trolls are chanting, we start to hear the chant, "It's time to chomp, chomp, chomp." They have found a solution to their problem. Now, in the back, a group of 6 of the younger trolls, Ronja Redeye, Basie Buller, Rosa Softfinger, Ibby Pip, Kamakan, and Sophus Lotus, sit in the shadows furthest away from the fire. These 6 trolls are best friends and have traveled to the gathering together. And just as all the old trolls are starting to chant, "Eat the humans, have a feast, eat the humans, have a feast, save the world and be in peace," Ranja turns to her friends and puts her wooden arms around their shoulders and whispers to them, "We must save the humans. We must help them change and be better and save them from themselves before these old trolls start cleaning their teeth with human bones. We cannot let that happen." And so those 6 trolls come together and hatch a plan for how they might expose themselves to the human world so their special talents and gifts might help the humans face the problem of how we face our world in a more just way. So, as we can tell from the story of the trolls themselves, they have a problem. They think they have a solution to that problem. Chomp, chomp, chomp. Be at peace. But the small band of trolls has a different idea. They have an idea about using their skills to encourage the rest of us to be more at peace with our world. So, as we think about how we face our own imminent problems of today, we might have some radical, chomp, 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 solutions. But we might also have solutions closer to home, solutions of how we might be our best selves to the most people so that we might face our own problems in a new and less eaty kind of way. Now, young people, we are going to go and have our own experience of thinking about how we might help the trolls and how we might help the trolls in their mission. So we are going to do that, we are going to rise, and as the congregation sings, we are going to leave the sanctuary. We're actually going to make our way outside. So you're going to leave these doors and turn to the right, and when you get to the concrete outside, stop. Don't go past the concrete, okay? Now, with that in mind, we're going to invite everyone to sing, "We Will Keep a Place for You," as we go and do our troll work together.
whichever direction you went, we will keep a place for you until you return. And that's actually particularly meaningful to me personally, that they went off in different directions today. Because I'm going to be talking just for a moment, I guess, about my son Patrick, who a year ago was living on Maui. I spoke with him right before church today. We all know what's happened this week in Maui, and we're going to be sharing our abundance with relief efforts for Maui here in a moment. The death toll from the wildfire in Hawaii is approaching 100, and it will be in the hundreds when they're done finding people. Entire towns are leveled. Countless people at this point are left homeless and jobless. And Maui is a place that's near and dear to my heart and to many of our hearts for various reasons. As I said, Patrick lived there for about a year, and Jennifer and I got to visit out there last September. And of course, it's a very beautiful place. I'm going to ask Kevin to show a picture I took from a raised, a small mountain, a tall hill. That is just sort of a typical scene on Maui. This was natives have communities that they keep strong in the Hawaiian Islands, and they have sacred places called heiaus. They're pieces of land that are believed to be sacred and homes of the ancestors that they work to keep natural. This was a heiau that Patrick, as a white person, was invited by some elder natives to work on and plant trees. And the view that you're seeing, if you were to look, I guess, off to the right, you would be looking down on Lahaina, which is now no more. It's totally destroyed. This week we are giving our offering to the Hawaii Community Foundation. Maui Strong is the name of this particular relief effort. And Maui Strong is doing a remarkable job of skipping some of the bureaucracy and the paperwork that often holds up relief efforts that in our world now with climate crisis and so on, relief efforts are going on around the world all the time. And a lot of it is bogged down by bureaucracy. But Maui Strong and the Hawaii Community Foundation are bypassing some of the paperwork, and they're getting money immediately to a variety of nonprofit organizations in the community. Within 24 hours of a request, they're getting large sums of money to these organizations. They've raised $20 million so far, which seems astounding until you realize that the estimated total for relief and rebuilding is $5.5 billion. Now, some of the recipients, and the fire was overnight, Monday night or Tuesday night, and it's still going on, but it's only a few days old, but they've already given $250,000 to various to lots of different organizations. So examples of some of the recipients: diapers and baby food and supplies for people with little children, temporary shelters, because anyone who lived in Lahaina and survived is now homeless. Food banks and food distribution, humane society, because there's so many displaced pets and animals. This week, as we give to Maui Strong, I'm giving a little more than I usually do, and I encourage you to do so as well. Our morning offering will now be received. Thank you. May our generosity, combined with that of others around the world, bring hope and restoration to the survivors in Hawaii. I invite you now to sing the first two verses of hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. You may remain seated. It's my pleasure to introduce Bruce Bowdon. He shared with me a few months ago a reflection that he had offered at another church, and I was blown away, and I've invited him to share with you today.
If you put a frog into a pot of steaming hot water, he will jump out and escape. But if you put the same amphibian in a pot of cold water and gradually heat it until it boils, he will adjust to the ever-increasing temperature until he dies. Our family was that frog when we were living with my drug-addicted son, Jacob. When Jacob was in middle school, we thought he had an almost unlimited potential. He had so many friends that he had trouble keeping up with them all. He was a curious, independent boy with a delightful sense of humor. Sometime during 8th grade, things started to change. He and his crew were caught smoking marijuana at another boy's house. He let another boy copy his term paper. He posted inappropriate pictures on a girl's Facebook page. Statements that bent the truth evolved into outright lies. Gradually, his wide circle of friends was whittled down to only those who used drugs. Jacob attended the same private school where I spent my entire teaching career. One Sunday, I received a call from a parent who told me that Jacob had sold her daughter drugs on school grounds. Robin and I decided that Jacob would walk into the Dean of Discipline's office on Monday morning where he would confess what he did. I then told the administration they were not to take into consideration my 40-year tenure with the school in deciding the consequences. After several days of deliberation, he was allowed to remain in school if he went to therapy and an outpatient drug program. Jacob was able to sabotage those consequences when he gamed the counselor, and he used the program to expand his circle of drug-using friends. Slowly, my son, who we believed had such a bright future, became someone we did not recognize a secretive, sullen, and manipulative young man. Our family's frog was adjusting to the new temperature. According to the National Institute of Health, 15.5% of eighth graders have tried marijuana. By senior year, almost 45% have used it. Most of those teenagers who smoke marijuana will either quit as they mature or sporadically use it as adults. But 10% of pot smokers have a genetic disposition to become addicted. When a teenager starts using marijuana regularly, it stunts their emotional growth. Jacob's logic became more and more reliant upon a magical thinking which employed an unshakable confidence that he could overcome any set of circumstances to get what he wanted. My son had the maturity of a 13-year-old in a 17-year-old body. I confided to no one what Robin and I were going through at home because I felt I was a failure as a father. Because I could not see other people who were suffering the same misfortune, I mistakenly concluded I was alone in facing the challenges that Jacob presented us. I was an island in what I did not realize was an archipelago. My isolation contributed to my sense of shame and the inability to save my own son after influencing hundreds of students in the classroom. We tried a variety of strategies to turn him around: father-son weekends, overseas trips with peers, family vacations, dinner conversations, inviting him to concerts, having family members talk to him, as well as punishments that included taking away his phone, not allowing him to get his driver's license, and moving his bedroom from the basement to the second floor. Nothing changed. When I became aware that Jacob's friends were sneaking in our house while we were asleep to use drugs, I realized that our house was like Vietnam. We controlled the day, but Jacob ruled the night. Our family's frog became increasingly uncomfortable when the dean of discipline discovered Jacob had stolen a scale from the school's chemistry lab. Jacob set us up to defend him for some vandalism, only to confess at the last minute he was guilty. There was an early morning fight in our front yard over a drug deal gone bad. I caught him stealing money from my wallet. By keeping a log of our car's speedometer, I was able to ascertain he was driving our car stoned at night without insurance. Jake made arrangements for his friends to have a party in our vacant house while we were on vacation. On a personal level, I knew that the school where I taught, if they discovered that my basement was a meeting place to use drugs, I would be fired. Finally, Robin and I faced what I called the abyss. We could endure the next year and a half until Jacob left for college, or we could make a decision that for us was unimaginable: casting our son out of our house to go to a wilderness program and a therapeutic boarding school. There are times in our life when we must face the abyss, a decision where we consider the previously unimaginable, or are faced with having to let go of a system of beliefs or comfort that we thought we could rely upon. Many people who go through a divorce must decide whether to tolerate a deteriorating relationship or embrace an unknown future, often amid debilitating accusations by those who loved us. People who suffer in a soul-crushing job may agonize for years while considering the abyss. Sometimes the abyss is forced upon us by the death of someone we loved, being fired, a catastrophic injury, an unexpected diagnosis, or by having to move from a place that we called home. To face an abrupt change can be demoralizing and seem to call for more fortitude than we know we possess. Nothing in our past offers any guidance of how to make this decision. In our case, Jacob hadn't been involved with the legal system yet. He hadn't hurt himself or anyone else physically. He hadn't stolen heirlooms from our house to sell, and he hadn't hit Robin or me. But we had no hope that anything was going to improve, and were fairly certain things were going to get worse. The abyss of sending him away was frightening. We would spend his college money and part of our retirement savings, send him to people whom we had never met, with no guarantee that he would choose to become sober. Furthermore, Jacob made it clear if we sent him away, we would never see him again. It was a threat we took seriously. It was the most difficult, heart-wrenching decision we have ever made, in part because I wanted to tell myself I had tried everything possible. We hired 2 men to come to our house at 3:30 in the morning on February 25th, 2012. In a surreal moment, I led them to his bedroom, woke him up, introduced the men to him, and told him they were going to take him to a wilderness program in Utah. I then told Jacob that I loved him. And he responded quietly by saying, "You're a real son of a bitch, Dad." As Robin and I left the house, I wondered if those would be the last words I heard from my son. Robin had an epiphany later on that day when she said, "He's never coming back home, is he?" Unknown to us, the weekend before, Jacob had experienced the event that is terrifying to those who suffer from substance abuse. He was no longer able to get high from marijuana. When an addict reaches that dead end, they only have 2 choices. They can quit, or they can move to a stronger, more addictive drug. Given the present opioid epidemic, it was fortunate we sent him when we did. I wish I could tell you that Jacob immediately got better. We received a letter from him 2 weeks later promising that he would do anything we required if we would bring him back home. I considered his offer for about 15 seconds before realizing the decision was a one-way street. There was no turning back. He responded with a 10-page profanity-filled letter accusing us of everything his considerable imagination could summon. After 9 weeks of therapy while camping out in the Utah desert, he graduated from Wilderness. We were to pick him up from a place that was so remote they used satellite phone. Jacob made Robin and me dinner, showing his new skills by starting a fire with spindle and bow, and after dinner, pitching a tarp under which the 3 of us were to sleep. I knew I was going to have trouble sleeping because of the cold and the hundreds of invisible pebbles on the ground. But my insomnia became complete when I discovered that my sleeping bag would only zip halfway up, and Jacob said, "Watch out for the scorpions." The next day, we took him to a therapeutic boarding school near Tombstone, Arizona. After seeing our son again for 30 hours, it was a poignant moment when we said goodbye to Jake and left him at his new school. We prepared for our first parent weekend by formulating statements of what emotions we felt as a result of Jacob's actions. He prepared a similar list of what he felt towards us. One at a time, I and then Robin were to sit face to face, knees touching, tell Jacob how we felt, and then listen what he had to say to us. We and 2 other families were sequestered in a room with a therapist that each of the boys shared. I kept waiting for the other families to be excused so we could have what I anticipated would be an emotional, intimate, and heated encounter. I was horrified when I gradually realized the other families weren't going to be excused. We were going to air our shit in front of everyone. It was a stroke of genius. We found that there was almost a universal story how these intelligent, personable young men had lost their way. It was the same weekend that I came to the conclusion that my work of raising my son had come to an end. No matter how much I wanted Jacob to lead a sober life, I was powerless to influence him. As almost all parents ultimately discover, our children have the right, even the duty, to live life in their own way. Despite being told that this program had a 75% success rate, Jacob has observed that only a handful of his peers have remained sober after a couple of years. After about a year of therapy, Jacob made a commitment to lead a sober life. To my amazement, he seems to genuinely enjoy our company. Jacob celebrated 11 years of sobriety last February. He is 29 now, a physician's assistant with his doctorate, working at neurology in the Mayo Clinic in Rochester. And once again, I can envision an almost unlimited future. So,
Do it here, if you're going to talk.
during one of the events that it was one of the steps where I had to go to a grocery store where Jacob had stolen liquor, and I had to interface with the security officer, and I brought Jacob home, and I sat down at the piano, and in an hour, I wrote this song. There are moments in parenting when you don't know what to do. Nothing's prepared you for this day. A decision must be made, and it must be made right now. There's nothing and no one to show the way. Kids don't come with directions, not even a translation, no explanation or barcode. So what the hell do you do when you're broken in half and your family is ready to implode? Rediscovering prayer in the time of despair. There's no hope for me, I swear, and more pain than I can bear. I know, God, I've been a stranger. It's been a long, long time. I thought I had it all figured out. I was cruising through my life, and I knew I didn't need you, though I never stopped believing there was doubt. I've been arrogant and selfish, stubborn and self-centered, exactly like the kid I'm trying to raise. I don't know what to do, and I don't know what to say. Help me become a person who prays. Rediscovering prayer in the time of despair. There's no hope for me, I swear, and more pain than I can bear. Just how much do I dare take my time to prepare? Place my trust in your care and rediscover prayer.
Thank you, Bruce, for opening your heart and your life and your experience to us. And I know that that experience is not at all unique, like you found in that circle in that meeting. There's a lot of commonality, I know, with a lot of folks here in this sanctuary and on Zoom. And now you have invited us to rediscover prayer, to be people who can pray. That's not easy for some of us. It's second nature for others. It's perhaps simply unusual for many. But here we are in a time together in a sanctuary where our hearts have been opened, and I invite us to keep them open as we pray first together and then privately. Spirit of life, higher power that holds us, source of who and what we are, and destination of all our being. May we find in those times of deep pain and despair that we are not alone. May we know and experience that we are held by you and by others who walk this path of life with us and others who have previously walked this path of life. When we reach those times where we are staring into the abyss, May a part of us know instinctively and innately that you are there with us, that we can pray, that we can surrender, that we can let our burdens down and be held by a great mystery that we do not understand, nor do we claim to understand, yet holds us. Embrace us and abide with us now, we whose hearts have been cracked open this morning. Hold us in this time together and in the days ahead. May it be so, and amen. And be with us in this time of silence now, and help us and teach us to pray privately together. Blessed be. Shalom. Namaste.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its
knowing that, believing, still believing, having faith and hope, we honor now the love that is the spirit of this church with our candles of community ritual. Each week we set aside sacred time and space for the sharing of joys and sorrows, for individuals to lift up before the congregation a milestone, a memory, something to celebrate, something of sadness. For our lives are all of the above and more woven together. We start with those joys or sorrows that were emailed in during the week, and we will continue with in-person candles of community, and then those folks on Zoom who are typing things in their chat. First emailed candle is from, as there are no joys or sorrows being shared on Zoom, we light this final candle for those held in our hearts but not expressed publicly this morning. So it's been a powerful time together today. I want to join the chorus of gratitude for you, Bruce, and for all of you who have opened yourselves up to this moment and this experience. Let's all take a deep breath. Maybe one more, because we're going to need our lungs to be a little expanded, because we're going to sing now our closing hymn, a call to action and a call to faith. It's number 1014. That means nothing to you. I don't even know why I said it, because you don't have that hymnal. The words will appear in front of you, answering the call of love. Please rise in body or spirit. Let's join hands. If you're on Zoom, know that we're holding you here in this sanctuary as well. You can come. come on further. There's lots of people left. We'll let Lynn get in there. So while we were singing, I took the liberty of looking at all of you. I wish I could have looked at the folks on Zoom too, but your face is just glorious. Thank you for being here. Love you all. May the Spirit of life, that each of us possesses, flow from one to the other. May it stay with us. And bring us peace and harmony. Until we meet again. Amen. And I think we've earned a little party. Let's go have one.